We are at the top of the hexagram. It's a 6th line day, and the 28th gate, the 6th line is called Blaze of Glory, the roof of the house. And the blaze of glory. The thing to recognize about this 6th line is that it doesn't want to have anything to do with struggle. Nothing at all. It wants to get to the 44th hexagram, to the first line of conditions. It wants the establishment of frameworks as a result of interaction. It wants to establish mastery over the collective. It wants to do something else. It wants to go far beyond struggle. And it can only go there if life is worthwhile. The 6th line is part of the cross of alignment, the alignment of realizing that there is a hierarchy of yoga teachers, for example, and that here is a place in that hierarchy where you can finally be at rest, if you get there. The blaze of glory, this 6th line, represents the fear that instead of just accepting that you get to your place in the hierarchy, to the teacher that is there for you, that you can never get to the top of the hierarchical position. You can never get to your ultimate teacher. And of course, the 6 is all about that. It wants to get up on top of the hill. It needs to get away from what is below. And think about what our 6 lines have been through in this 28th gate. In the first part of its life, it has dealt with adventurism, unfounded risk-taking, banging into this, banging into that, and learning, developing its intuition. But at the same time, it could have experienced a lot of pain. You can never get away from melancholy in these individual gates. And if there's no clarity to the life, the melancholy causes pain. So the 6th line goes up on the hill because it doesn't want to take risks anymore. It knows that none of the risks that it's been able to take have really been able to bring it to the point of seeing that life is really of value. And by sitting up on the hill, they get to the point that the only thing that they can really risk, that will really show them that life is of value, is their own life. The lifetime learning here, sacrifice rather than capitulation to the laws of deterioration. This is a learned process. No matter what it takes, I will not keep on sliding down in the hopelessness of not finding that life is worthwhile. I will start taking any kind of risk. I will make any kind of sacrifice. I will stop eating until I die just to see if that is worthwhile. Okay, that might have been a bit extreme, but you know what I mean. In the exaltation, regeneration and renewal, no matter what the price. The deep intuitive drive to win, no matter the cost. The drive is that the risk must bring the reward, that it's not simply just a stage in the process, because they're tired of that. They want the whole biscuit. They don't just want the crumbs that are left behind. They want to be able to take it all. So they're sitting up on top of the hill saying, what is the ultimate risk that I can take? And of course, that is a dangerous business. In the detriment, we have self-destruction, the deep intuitive fear of defeat and a potentially profound hopelessness in times of struggle. The way that most people live this out is that they get deaf, in the sense that they stop listening. And if they stop listening to their intuition, they don't hear the risks that are around them. They can end up hurting themselves, all because they stop listening. 28 and the 57, you know, the whole stream, everything about individuality is acoustic in nature. It operates within the acoustic realm. And when you're dealing with the individual sides of the splenic system, you're dealing with the acoustic capabilities that are on the right side of the body. This is the logic side of our brain. So the hearing that is in the 57 is the right ear. And the 28 is this listening, this acuteness that is listening for that one thing that will either give them the possibility of being able to transcend, or that one thing that scares the hell out of them that they have to be ready for. And when that hearing capacity goes, when they stop catching that moment, then they are deeply at risk. These are people, when they get to this point, when they don't listen anymore, they begin to self-destruct. They eat too much, they drink too much, they drive too fast. And because they're not listening, all of this gets closer and closer to the edge. They're pushing the envelope a little bit further each time. When they do smash, if they survive, maybe that would be their necessary satori. It may be that in surviving the smash, they may be so overjoyed that they survived that they discover that their life is of value to them. But this tells you just how desperate they are to see that life is of value. And because they're not listening, there's no rationality in this process. It's irrational. Ra said the only thing that saves a 28-6 is the 28-5. When they can really know what the limits are and know that they have a place in the hierarchy, when they can really know that it can be worthwhile, they can come down from the hill. And when they do, they step into gate 44 and the magic of alertness and the magic of really being able to understand the world and how it operates. If you carry the 28-6, the most important thing for you to know is that the risk you take when you're operating correctly as yourself is the risk that is always beneficial, whether the outcome is considered good or bad. As long as you take risks from the not self, you're always going to suffer negative consequences to one degree or another. And the melancholic quality that is there, and this is important for anyone with individuality, unless that melancholy is recognized and understood for the chemistry that it is, the sadness is creative and happiness is productive, then you will continue to take risks based on your mind's commentary about your melancholy. And that then gets quite disastrous. It's natural for a 28 to take risks, and they're gifted in their potential, whatever the variation is, as themselves, but not as themselves as conditioned by their melancholy or conditioned by the lack of awareness about their own nature. Then they're always going to suffer. And this is a gate that can bring great suffering. This is a gate that says, God, life is just such a drag. The victory and the loss, they have to do with whether life is worthwhile. These are people who work too much. They live too fast. They take too many drugs. They're always pushing it to see whether or not they find that thing that makes life worthwhile. And many of them are pushed to the point of self-destruction. These are people who make themselves sick over the course of a lifetime. They slowly burn themselves out because they cannot find this sense of, oh, it's okay, life is worthwhile. The grounding comes in the 6th line of gate 27, and it's called wariness. And this is a classic keynote for our 6 lines. There is a wariness around caring, just as there is around the struggle to find meaning in life. The 6th line has been through its 3rd line phase, it's been burned, and it doesn't want to be bothered anymore. Oh, it's bringing a little wariness to the blaze of glory. Well, that might soften things up a bit. Perhaps if you're experiencing this as a transit. But if you are supposed to be experiencing the blaze of glory, then you'll be equipped for that. As long as you're operating correctly, strategy and authority, there is never going to be a time when they're not important for your process. Mercury moves into gate 14 at 22:05 this evening. This is the gate of power skills, possession in great measure, the cart piled high with possessions, showing just how powerful and materially successful you are. This is a sacral gate in individual circuitry, same as our gate 28 here. And it's pushing up into the 2nd gate, bringing material resources for the driver to be able to take the vehicle on its perfect trajectory. The moon is still in gate 46 in the G center, the gate of the determination of the self. Determination to discover new things, to love its temple, or not. At 12:23, the moon moves into another splenic cycle, beginning with gate 18, the gate of correction, working on what has been spoiled. This is logical collective gate that is looking at the pattern to see what can be corrected in order for the collective to move forward safely into the future. It knows that some things cannot be corrected, and it knows it cannot always correct on its own. Being a splenic gate, it carries a fear, and this is the fear of authority or of challenging authority. And gate 48 is next at 2351. This is the well, the gate of depth. In the same stream as gate 18, the stream of taste. We've only just hopped over the Splenic Centre here. The fear is of not having enough depth or being seen as shallow, unable to provide solutions. And the well can have an unknown depth to it. It could be filled with trivia as often as it is filled with wisdom. So this is the end of another gate, and we move into the 44 next time tomorrow. And 44 is the last of the splenic gates as we are moving through this current solar cycle. So I will be back for the overview and the first line tomorrow. And until then, as always, you know what I'm going to say. But nonetheless, go gently.